So number one, if you are miserable in your life, and the way that I would unpack this is to say, if there are aspects of your life that you would not high five.
Yeah, there's an understatement.
Right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's true.
Yeah,
Isn't that like
sure.
a simple way? If you
Yeah.
think about the person that you're dating or that you're married to and you would not give them a high five.
Oof.
That's a sign. That's a wake-up call. And it doesn't mean you necessarily have to leave, but it means you basically only have a couple choices. Either you get serious about what you want and you do the work to change how you're showing up and see if that changes the dynamic, or accept the way that it is, because it's not going to change, or leave. Those are your options. There's no middle ground here. Things do not change by just giving it more time to change. That's not how the world works. So that's rule number one. So if there's an aspect of your life, if you think about walking into the job that you have, and you do not want to high five the job, you do not want to high five the person you work for, you do not want to high five what your life looks like, change it. Because that is your body and your energy telling you it's not what you're up to in your life. It's not aligned with who you're meant to be. That's why you feel unhappy. That's why you feel constrained. That's why you feel depleted. The second thing that she said that you need to take to heart is that you got to be willing to ask for help, period. Because you don't have to do anything on your own, not in today's world. And help could mean taking an online course. Help could mean asking friends to support you. Help could mean asking your parents to let you sleep on the couch or move into the basement for a couple months while you figure it out. Help could mean asking your girlfriends to watch your dogs or watch your kids or watch whatever until you figure it out. So that's another thing she said. The other thing is this is it. This is it right here. This is the money. This is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This is what I call a high five attitude. It's an attitude that's not grounded in arrogance. It's an attitude that you have, which is grounded in optimism and faith, and this belief that through your own attitude and your own effort, you can have a positive impact on any situation. In other words, just what Tara said, you can figure it out. And so then there will come the time when you got to jump. So you can figure it out. That's your attitude. Ask for help. That's one of the things you're going to do because you don't have to do this alone. And you're right. And the next thing is you got to be willing to jump. And jump may mean that you're going to actually quit the job or you're going to leave the relationship. Or jump may mean that you're going to build a runway. And so one of the things that I really want to compliment you on is that you've been, how long have you been thinking about opening your own studio?
Since I first saw that I can gather a crowd, when I first saw that I had something unique.
Okay, and when did you realize that?
Pretty soon after I started. I've been a teacher for 6 years. People told me immediately that I should open my own thing, that I should do my own thing.
Okay, so
6 years ago.
Did you hear that, everybody? For 6 years, this has been building inside of her. And look, that's okay. Because sometimes you got to stay in something that's uncomfortable and do it in somebody else's business or somebody else's method to start to build the confidence so that you know you can figure it out, so that you know you've got the people to ask for help, so that you know you're ready to jump. And so one thing about Tara is she has been literally building a runway for 6 years. You have. And so I want you to understand that you're about to see Tara and I make a map. We're going to map out kind of what she needs to do between now and the studio opening so that she can fund her life, so that she can raise a little bit of money, so that she can get some momentum, so that she is busy putting strategic blocks in place. I want you to realize that if you're not ready to jump, all of these things are things, all of these examples that we're going to give you in the map that we're going to build for Tara, a lot of which she's already assembled, are meant to show you that it is possible to build a pathway between where you are and where you want to go. And you lay it brick by brick. And so for 6 years, keep in mind, even though Tara says, 2 days ago you quit your job?
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
So this is fresh. But for 6 years, she has been building a runway, right? So we're building a runway. And what's the purpose of the runway? The purpose of the runway is so that the plane can actually take off. The plane doesn't take off back here. So she's been teaching. She's been building an email list. She has a website, which is we're going to put it up for you, Love Offensive, so that you can check out Tara, so that you can take her classes, so that you can support her campaign. She has been doing retreats on her own. They're amazing. She's been doing all this stuff for 6 years, so that when she was ready to go, she had built a runway to take off. And so it's important, no matter where you are, to start putting the blocks in place. Well, now that you see that, now let's talk about this. So it's pretty easy to create a map. And I like to do it visually because it's so important when you're trying to make something happen, that you get out of your head and you can see it. And I'm like a super visual person. So today is, I don't even know what the date is. What is today?
The 16th.
September 16th.
Yeah.
Okay, September 16th. And when I talked to you 2 days ago, guys, 2 days ago, she quits her job, she signs a lease, she's like, Mel, I got a couple $1,000s. Like, that's what I got. Okay, so the 16th, we got, whatever. We're just gonna put like 1K. She's got more than that, but whatever. October 1st is what? When you get the...
I get the keys.
October 1st is when she gets the keys to her new studio space. And what is the business gonna be called?
Little Roadie Hot Power Yoga.
And when are you going to open the doors so people can come into the space?
Well, hopefully as soon as possible. I think realistically in December.
Okay,
probably.
great.
Yeah.
And here's what I like. Here's what I want to point out. I think giving yourself some breathing room between getting the keys and actually doors open is super important. One of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make is that we rush. And we, in rushing, put way too much pressure on our dreams. And so because of today's world and because of streaming and because of technology, these are the gifts, by the way, of the pandemic. People are so used to taking classes online now. They're so used to streaming yoga classes. They're so used to using Zoom that your actual business is up and running now or can be up and running fast before the doors open. And by giving yourself 2 months, which I think is a very realistic time frame, from keys to doors open, you can now build the new runway, right? So this was the runway to be able to quit. Now we're gonna build a runway that is same thing, from right now to December 1st, right? So all these little things just become dots on the map that help you gain momentum. Pretty cool, right? And having 2 months to be able to do that, to start laying out the bricks, is exactly what's going to allow you to breathe and to be present. And that's super important because when you're giving birth to anything, when you're creating something, it's such a magical time because there's so many people that are going to be drawn to this because we are all longing for a sense of magic and vibrancy and something new. And so people are going to be excited that you're taking this on. And I want you to be able to be present and not stressed and frazzled and coming from scarcity so that you can actually spot and witness all of the incredible things that are lining up for you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Having that kind of high five mindset that life is high fiving you back.
Yes.
And being able to see the magical ways in which that's happening, it's everything. So let me share, I'm gonna have Tara share with you basically 2 things that she's done because the second that I found out that she quit, I said, great, no problem. You don't even need to worry about the money because we're going to raise money and make money online as a way to fund your life and business before you even start.
Yes.
And we are going to also be able to utilize the 6 years of goodwill that you have built up by being everybody's, go-to yoga teacher. And you got people through the pandemic. So people want to support you. And so why don't you tell everybody what you did immediately that falls into the ask for help?
You're not really kidding with $1,000. I really jumped with absolutely no net and a faith that part of the runway is that just constantly was where I said I would be when I said I would be there. That consistent reliability has built people to trust me.
Yeah.
So I need to turn and little by little, not ask too much from one person, but I started a GoFundMe campaign.
Great.
With an estimated cost of opening the studio, a line item of everything from a
It was 60 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
60 grand. So she started a GoFundMe campaign a day ago. How much money do you have already?
$9,000.
$9,000. And the average, it looked like the average donation was about $1,000. And so I asked her, and here's the thing, if you've already been out in the world doing good, or you have an incredible business plan, a GoFundMe campaign is extraordinary. Because none of us like to ask for help. We think we're supposed to do it all on our own. The fact is, other people want to help you, especially if you've been showing up for them.
That's it.
And so, a couple things about GoFundMe campaigns. There's some really interesting research that once you get to 50%, the majority of GoFundMe campaigns that are that reach 50% or more funded, they actually, like 90% of them go on to be fully funded.
Oh, nice.
And it's because people want to bet on something.
Yeah.
The other thing that you should do is put a video up. So right now, there's her page right there. I want you to put a video up. Really speaking from the heart, I want you to put a video up touring your new place and your vision, because that allows people to invest in the emotion and the vision, not just investing because of their relationship with you. Yeah. And your GoFundMe campaign will go a little bit wider. Okay? So those are two things I want you to do. I want you to do a video. And for now, just let people donate. But if you really want to supercharge it, in about a week, send out to everybody that everybody that's donated, here's a link to a class as a thank you that you can play forever. And maybe it's a class that's for free on your Facebook page. It doesn't matter. You're just sending them a thank you. Then what I want you to do is I want you to say, for anybody willing to donate $1,500, I will give you a year membership to my new studio.
Oh, that's great.
And so or maybe it's $2,000.
Yeah.
You get a year of streaming, a year of unlimited classes. You're a part of the Founders Circle. Yep. So you're going to want to ask for, and this is almost like when a company raises money, you'll get X percentage company. You'll get equity in this company if you give us a certain amount of money to invest in our growth.
Yes.
And so you will then, ask for something, $1,500, whatever, $99, whatever it is that you think that is for a 1 year value. And then that allows people to double down. You thank them for whatever they gave, and it allows people to double down. Now, if anybody already gave you that, write to them and say, here's what I'm going to do for you because you gave me that already. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So that'll help you supersize this.
Awesome.
Then what you want to do is figure out how you can start, and you've already done this. So right now we've got the GoFundMe right here.
Yep.
You are also now starting to stream classes where people can pay per class.
Yes, on Zoom.
Excellent. Okay. The other thing that you've done, I've noticed, is that when October 1 happens, that you are streaming and you are giving people the option to get a month, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the people that have paid this will automatically be part of that. Now, here's where social media comes in. I'm sure you were already going to do this, but when you're streaming those classes, make sure you're in the empty studio so that you are inviting people into the new space.
Great.
And at the end of every space, thank everybody who is part of your Founders Circle, who has donated $1,500 to have access for a year, or whatever you're going to charge, right? And so you've done your class, you thank everybody that paid, and say, if you're interested in becoming a member of our Founders Circle, this is something that we're doing until doors open. Mm-hmm. Share it with your friends. Anybody can take you over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got that?
Yes.
Your social media strategy should be taking everybody along the journey with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Live streaming every day. Guys, I'm here. We're putting up the paint color. Do you like lilac or blue?
Yeah.
Hey, this is what happens today. Cannot thank my Founders Circle enough. You want to make sure your social strategy is all about this journey. Got it? And the GoFundMe link is the link in all your social bios now.
Yes.
Got it?
Yes.
Excellent.
Awesome.
That's it.
That's great. Thank you so much.
What we're going to talk a lot about today is we're going to talk about this principle that I believe. And the principle is this: profound personal and professional change starts with you. That's right. Profound personal and professional change starts with you. And change starts with you because the most effective change starts from the inside out. Okay? And so as you think about a behavior change or a thinking pattern change that you want to make, or some sort of goal or dream, I want you to take everything that I'm about to teach you and have that example in mind, okay? So that everything that I'm talking about isn't just stuff I'm doing in my life, isn't just stuff that you read about when you look at the research in terms of habits and manifesting, but that you actually walk away with takeaway that is specific to what you want to achieve, okay? So good. So you've dreamed with the lid off. You've written it into the comments. Now, let's start by letting me give you a hack. I'm going to share with you something that I'm working on right now, okay? So one of the things that I want to do is I want to drink less in my life. I have a habit, and I've had a habit for decades, of around 6 o'clock when I start cooking dinner, I typically will pour myself a drink. It's something that I enjoy. It's something that I do as a ritual to kind of end the workday and ease into being, in the more personal part of my life. And as I've gotten older, as I've started to understand more about my health, I thought, I actually don't want to be doing that every night. And so I would make this sort of promise to myself that I wouldn't have a drink, and then 6:30 would roll around, and next thing you know, I am mindlessly walking over to the cabinet where the gin is, and I'm making a gin and tonic. And it's not that I feel that I have a problem. It's that I was having a problem getting a new habit to stick. And so here is one hack that is based in science that is going to help you make any new habit stick. And yes, this is relating to manifesting. But what is this little hack? Well, this little hack is something that taps into what's called your procedural memory, okay? And let me tell you how you use the hack. So with that thing, that behavior change, I saw some of you writing down that you want to make more money, you want to stop procrastinating, you want health goals. Here is a hack that you can use using your procedural memory to make a new habit stick. All you have to do is you need to close your eyes and picture yourself step by step by step, practicing the new behavior or thinking pattern. So in my case, this is what it looks like. I close my eyes and I think, okay, I'm in the kitchen. I turn to my left and I can see the red clock and I visualize it saying 6:30. I feel the pull of the cabinet where the gin is, but I picture myself walking over to where the glasses are instead. And then I take a glass, and then I picture myself walking over to the fridge, and then I open up the fridge, and then I reach for the kombucha, and then I pull it out, and I grab a lime, and then I grab a soda water, I shut the fridge, and then I pour a kombucha, I pour a little soda water, I take the peeler, I peel the lime, so I get that neat little lime strip, and I see it twisting, and I see the little kind of, like when you twist citrus, it sort of like sprays that little stuff, and then I drop it into the glass, and I see myself picking it up, and I see myself sipping my mocktail. I don't even want the gin. This tastes delicious. You want to know something fascinating? Research that has been peer-reviewed shows that simply going through that procedure of the new habit or thinking pattern, step by step by step, By going step by step by step, you are locking in a new sequence in your procedural memory. And based on research, that one time that you do it makes it way more likely that when 6:30 rolls around, you are not going to drink the gin. You are going to make the mocktail. Now, why does this work? Well, the reason why this works is because you're using science to rehearse the new behavior or the new situation or the new thinking pattern and to encode it in your brain before you actually do it. And when you use your procedural memory to rehearse something that you want to have become a new habit or a new way of acting in your life, you're basically putting it in your long-term memory. Now, what is your procedural memory? Well, your procedural memory is the part of your brain that has stored all the motor skills, like writing, like picking up a glass and drinking, like walking. It is all stored in your procedural memory. The reason why you and I can walk without thinking about it, or talk, or skip, or brush our teeth is because we have rehearsed that sequence, that procedure, that series of events over and over and over again. And now it's locked into my brain, into my procedural memory. Now, here's what's really cool, everybody. Your brain doesn't know the difference between an event that you have closed your eyes and imagined and an event that you've actually done. And what's happening in your brain when I visualize myself making that mocktail step by step by step by step is I am making connections between the gaps at the end of the neurons in my body, the synapses, and every time I either imagine that sequence of events or I practice it, we're making that connection between neurons stronger and stronger and stronger. And so here's what's really cool. What I just told you is manifesting. Seriously. Manifesting done correctly is when you use your procedural memory as a tool to train your brain, your nervous system, your spirit, to help you feel motivated and to help you do the work that actually changes your life. How cool is that? I want to be very clear about something. You know, manifesting gets a bad rap because of the law of attraction. But manifesting is not woo-woo at all. It's not a cheesy topic. Manifesting is not just think about something that you want and suddenly it'll magically appear. No. Manifesting is when you use your procedural memory and you visualize the step by step by step actions that you need to take in order to make your big goal or the thing that you want or the new habit to become a reality. You see, manifesting isn't the end, everybody. Manifesting is the bridge. It's the series of actions that you're going to take in order to have this new habit. And when you rehearse something and when you encode it in your procedural memory, what actually happens is because it's now something that your brain recognizes, the walking to the other cabinet, not where the gin is, the opening up the fridge and grabbing the kombucha instead of grabbing the gin in the cabinet. When you rehearse this over and over, you are lowering the limbic friction, the friction in your mind, the resistance that you feel. You are lowering that resistance, and that is how manifesting helps you achieve your goals. If you are somebody who is struggling to figure out what your passion is in life, this coffee talk is for you. If you have a friend or a son or a daughter or a niece or a nephew who is struggling to figure out what their passion is, they don't know what to do with their life, this coffee talk is for them, and you should absolutely share it with them. So let's talk about passion. You know, passion is a really interesting topic because most of us have the wrong definition of passion. And for a long time, I did too. You know, I get asked all the time, Gina, put a question on Instagram because on Wednesday or on Friday, which was our last live broadcast, we were talking all about energy and about your inner compass. And Gina said, you know, Mel, I'm really struggling to figure out what my purpose is. I have too many talents. How do I find my place in the world? Sorry, I just heard this loud noise, so I didn't know what it is. And I'm in a hotel, so I'm sure people are not happy with the fact that I am doing a live broadcast. So I'm going to keep my voice down just a little bit to be respectful of the people around me. So if you're struggling to find your passion, why don't you give me a thumbs up? Because this broadcast and this live training in Coffee Talk with Mel Robbins is going to give you the tools that you need in order to think about passion differently. And that's the problem. You see, the problem with passion is that you and I have bought into this massive fantasy world where we think that passion is a person or a place or a thing, that somehow, like a needle in a needle in a haystack, that you are somehow just going to stumble into the thing and you're going to find that one person, or you're going to find that one thing that you're meant to do, or you're going to find that career. And honestly, we got to change the way that you think about passion and purpose before you will actually be able to bring it into your life. Because the truth is, passion isn't in a person, it isn't in a place, and it isn't in a thing. It's something inside of you. And when you flip the definition of what passion is, and when you actually understand what you're looking for when you say, I want to discover my passion, then you'll be able to create more of it in your life. Okay, so let me give you a new definition of what passion is. You ready? Let me tell you what Gina's actually asking about when she says, I'm struggling to figure out my purpose and my passion. You ready? Here's your new definition of passion. Passion is simply energy. That's all that it is, okay? Passion is what you feel when you are energized and excited about what you're doing, okay? I want you to think about that for a minute. I want you to think about a moment in time when you felt incredibly passionate about something, okay? And why don't you in the comments tell me, where are you watching from? And tell me about a moment in time when you felt incredibly passionate about what you were doing, about where you were, about the people that you were with. Describe that moment for me, because when you start to really investigate passion as energy, this is what you're going to discover. Those moments when you were super passionate, like I'm sure my kids would write down when they're doing community theater with all their friends. I would write down whenever I'm doing any kind of creative project with my team, I'm incredibly energized. Whenever I'm doing group exercise stuff, climbing a mountain, doing a 5K race, doing some sort of walkathon, I'm incredibly energized by that. Whenever I'm doing some sort of creative project, incredibly energized by that. Whenever I'm working with our video team, incredibly energized by that. Whenever I am coaching someone or giving advice, I am incredibly energized by that. And so, what I want you to understand is that if you look back on your life, you have had moments where you have felt passion. Now, I'm being very deliberate in how I'm talking this morning on Coffee Talk because passion is a huge topic for so many of you. And you've been so focused on trying to figure out what job is going to make me passionate. What job is my passion? What is my purpose on the earth? I'm going to tell you what your purpose on earth is right now. Your purpose on earth is to figure out how to align your life so that you feel more energized and excited by it. That's it. And it begins with you following the energy and following your natural enthusiasm. You're not going to think your way to passion. You can't think your way to finding something that you feel in your heart. It doesn't work that way. You got to feel your way into it. It's inside of you. Do you understand? There's no passion out there somewhere. The passion is in here. And so what you have to do first is you've got to stop thinking that you're going to find it somewhere. And you've got to realize that passion is about unlocking something that's already in you. And so here's the thing. So for those of you that have been watching Coffee Talk for a while, or you've read the 5 Second Rule book, or maybe you used the 5 Second Journal, or maybe you took Mindset Reset with us this January, you've probably heard me talk about the fact that inside of you there is power. You have an inner compass, and that inner compass is always guiding you. And learning how to read that inner compass is essential if you want to unlock the passion that's already naturally inside you. Passion, again, isn't a person, place, or thing that you're going to find. It is a state of being that you unlock inside of yourself, and it is there, and you can tap into it right now. So there is an inner compass inside of you that I call an energy gauge. It's an energy gauge that reads the energy in you and around you. And that energy gauge goes from moments when you feel depleted, dead, and empty to moments where on the other side of the gauge, you feel energized, alive, expanded. And so the truth is, your natural state, believe it or not, is to be on the energized, expanded side of the internal compass that's in you. And so you are never really lost. I'm telling you this. I know you may feel lost. I know you may feel defeated. I know you may feel depleted. I know you may feel stuck. These are all temporary states. And one of the fastest ways for you to start to change how you feel about where you are in your life is to tune inward and to start to read the energy. Because if you feel stuck, your natural energy is depleted. If you feel despair, your natural energy is depleted. And the fastest way to start to shift that is to shift the energy inside you and to start to align your life towards things that energize you, okay? Things that excite you. And if you look at your life and you're like, oh my God, I don't know anything that excites me. I don't know anything that energizes me. Don't despair. I have something that you can do today that will help you to start to align your life in small ways towards things that naturally energize you. Many of you know that I'm a huge partner of Audible's, and we have just released a brand new Audible original project called Take Control of Your Life. You don't need to buy it. If you're interested in it, it's called Take Control of Your Life. It's 6 coaching sessions. It's 10 hours long. There's a bazillion takeaways. And in the first coaching session, I talked to a guy named Dan who felt really stuck. He knew what he was passionate about. He didn't know how to follow it. If you don't know what you're passionate about, listening to the session will help you figure it out. But more importantly, your body knows what you're passionate about. Because all you have to do is start asking yourself, do I want to take a class in wine tasting? Do I want to take a class in gardening? Do I want to take a class in video production? Do I want to take a class in painting? Do I want to take a class in accounting? And whatever it is that your body's like, ooh, that sounds cool. That's what naturally energizes you because you reacted positively to it with enthusiasm, with excitement. I also talk about this, by the way, in Amy's session because Amy has no clue what her dream or her passion is, just like you might not have any clue. And so I asked her the questions I'm going to ask you. What energizes and excites you? And when you start to anchor the process of leaning into and opening up the passion inside you by asking yourself questions, what energizes me? What excites me? What are the things in my life that I have always been interested in? Who am I jealous of? What would I do for free? What do I want to learn more about? All these questions are about unlocking your natural curiosity, your natural energy, your natural enthusiasm. If you're in a bookstore, what topics do you naturally gravitate towards? When's the last time you felt energized? What are the things that come so easily to you? Inside of the answers to those questions, by the way, are everything that you need to know about unlocking more of a feeling of energy and excitement. You're not searching out there for it. You're looking for clues internally as to what gets awakened inside of you when you pursue things that energize you. So again, your new definition of passion. Passion is not a person, place, or thing. Passion is the energy that you feel when you're excited, when you're expanded, when you're learning new things. And so you got to stop thinking about it, and you've got to start feeling your way into it. I want to start a YouTube channel making do-it-yourself videos and sharing my story and journey about living with anxiety and depression and how I have become the person I am today. I'm scared to start working toward getting my dream job. I'm scared of it becoming a reality, but I want it more than anything. Why am I so afraid to start this YouTube channel? I love this question. How many of you have been thinking about doing more with social media? Give me a thumbs up. How many of you have been thinking about starting a YouTube channel or putting up more videos on YouTube? Give me a thumbs up.
Lots of thumbs up.
Lots of thumbs up. Guess what? Me too. This year, 2020, for me, I am going to completely level up, 10x, whatever hell word you want to use, my video strategy and our social media strategy. And so I'm right there with you. And guess what? When I think about what does it mean to 10x what we're already doing, I get scared shitless. I've been thinking about this for 9 months. I don't know how to do it. I know how to do what I'm doing now. How do you start something that you've never done? You start. That's how you do it. You start. You declare what you want, and then you start. And so I want to take Morgan's question because Morgan has the most amazing question, because here's the thing. Why you're scared to do it is different from what you can do about it. Let me say that again. Why you're scared to do it is different than what you can do about it. So I'm going to answer this question 2 ways. The first way is I'm going to address why you're scared, because I guarantee you the reason why is something you haven't thought about. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what you can do about it, because you can be afraid and you can do it anyway. You can be afraid and you can use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and push yourself forward. But let's talk about why you're afraid to start. Number one, you probably believe you don't deserve to be successful, or that you don't deserve to have a channel on YouTube. Who's going to listen to me? Why should I be doing something like this? Who am I to put out my story? What do I have to say? All of those self-doubt questions that become obstacles to you moving forward, to you starting, that all tells me you don't think you deserve it. That's a huge thing that blocks people just like you. The second thing is, you are so fucking concerned about what your parents or your friends are going to think. I think this is the single biggest obstacle for anybody who wants to do more on social media. You start to question if you're not posting about your personal life, and you're not posting about your family, and you're not posting about your vacation, and you start to put out content that's different, content that's about the things you care about, content that's about your personal journey, content where you're giving people advice, content where you are stepping out of your comfort zone. The reason why you're scared to start is you're already thinking about what your stupid friends are going to think about it. It is such a shame that your dreams are on hold and being minimized because you care too much about your fucking friends and your family and what they're going to think about it. I want to change that. The other reason why, and I hear this all the time, I know I want to be successful, but I think I'm afraid of the success. This is the number one reason why you're not starting. It's not fear of success. It's not fear of failure. You're simply afraid of change. That's it. You're afraid of things that are out of your control. You're afraid of the unknown. That's all that it is. You have no idea what's going to happen if you start, and that scares the shit out of you. You have no idea whether or not people are going to like your videos, and that scares the shit out of you. You have no idea what your friends are going to say or do when you start doing this. You have no idea what your family's going to say. That scares the shit out of you. And when you really boil it down, and when you really start to get present to that fear, all you do is sit and think about when you're going to start it. That's why you're stuck. That's why I'm doing this program. Because why you're scared is different than what you can do about it. So what can you do about it? Well, first of all, you better get your ass in this program, melrobbins.com/bestdecade, because I've got you covered. We have an entire, like 4 weeks of programming that is free, where every day we're going to either give you a video or a live stream or a blog post or a post on social media, or we're going to give you a link to something that we've written that contains more resources. You're going to have an assignment that you can do in the workbook that goes with this, and it's going to inch you forward. You're going to learn how to dream bigger, and you're going to learn the fears that are holding you back and how to beat them. You're going to learn, once you dream bigger, an exercise that's going to train your brain to become more expansive and to be able to spot the possibilities that really are calling you forward. Then we're going to teach you how to take one big dream that really inspires you, and we're going to make that your theme for 2020. And then we're going to teach you how you can start to move forward toward your dream without changing anything in your life. And then the coolest part, in my personal opinion, you're going to be part of a private Facebook community full of people that are doing the exact same thing. It's unbelievable. You're going to log onto this Facebook group every day, and you know what you're going to see? Videos from other people in the program who are doing super cool stuff. And you know what that's going to do? That's going to inspire you. That's going to encourage you. That's going to give you the momentum and the courage that you need to do what Morgan's struggling with. Start. Because Morgan, when you get in best you get into best decade ever, and you start to see Julie over in Switzerland, and Al in India, and other people in Ukraine, and people in the United States, all uploading videos going, guess what? I went and had a meeting today with a friend of a friend who owns a bakery, and I learned all this kind of stuff, and now I know one step I can take. Or you say, have somebody go, I just put up my first video on my YouTube channel. I've started. You're going to then watch their video and go, oh my God, I need to start. I need to do the same. Hey, Chris, hold on. Chris, yeah. Could you get him out of that cage, please, hon? Thank you. Sure. This live stream is being interrupted by our crated puppy, which is why I am asking my husband to uncrate him. Anyway, why don't I take some questions? We're getting a lot of questions about whether or not this is free. Of course this is free. When you go to the landing page, you are not going to see a place for a credit card. This is not a free trial. This is not a bait and switch. This is not, once you get in and I get you in the Facebook group, now I'm going to sell you a coaching program. I don't have one. You got to come to my event. I do an event every day of the week called the Mel Robbins Show. It is free. You can watch it on television or YouTube. I'm not doing an event. There is literally no strings attached. And I know we're all cynical, and I know we're all sold to, and I know that social media feels like a giant scam at some point, but this is for real, out of service to you. And it's also selfish. Let me tell you one of the main reasons why I'm doing Best Decade Ever. I want to have the best fucking decade ever. I want to go after my biggest dreams. I want to be empowered and inspired and even more deliberate in 2020 than I was in 2019. I want to expand my thinking. I know that I'm holding myself back. And in order to get to the next level, you can't just keep doing what you've been doing. And so I'm excited for this program because I need it. That's right, Mel Robbins, I need it. I want to create the best decade. I want my biggest dreams to come true. I know that I'm limiting myself in terms of how I dream. So I'm doing this program for you and for me. And I'm not going to charge myself for it. So I'm certainly not going to charge you for it. And I also need you. I need you because when I see you going after the things that you care about, whether it's pursuing your dream of having a food tour business, or writing that book, or Morgan starting that YouTube channel, it inspires me to dream bigger. It inspires me to get started. And so that's why I'm doing this program. And that's why it's free. Because I know it's going to make a difference in your life, and that's worth more than any money you can ever pay me. And I also know that you may be struggling. And if you're struggling financially, I believe that you deserve to have somebody helping you. And I would be honored to be the person doing that. by offering this program for free. I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate. I work my fucking ass off and I'm extremely successful. And so I can afford to do this. And that's why I'm doing it, because I get something out of it and it makes me feel empowered knowing I am helping people around the world to dream bigger and to learn something about themselves and to inspire themselves and other people as we go through this experience together.
I'm an illustration artist, and a little bit of a backstory. So starting with the sad stuff first. So my parents, sorry, my parents passed away, my dad in 2018 and my mother in 2019. Two traumas for me, but therapy is going really, really well. So I'm good. I left my work field. I have a bachelor in educational science. So in German, it's Pädagogik in English, I don't know.
Yep.
And I opened my own online shop in January 2021, where I sell my illustrations and stuff. And I now have an exhausting part-time job, a cleaning part-time job, because I have to pay my bills. I have to live. Yeah, and 12 hours a week. Like I said, really exhausting, but it's fun. That's
well, you also said though that you literally have no debt and you have savings, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to point out to everybody.
Yeah.
I have a terrible habit of focusing on what's going wrong. You're not giving yourself enough credit.
Me?
Let me tell you, Elena, a different way to tell that story. I lost my mom and dad. Devastating. And I'm really proud of myself, which you did say, because I've done a tremendous amount of work and I've pulled myself up by my bootstraps and I sell my illustrations online. And you know what? Even though it's a lot of work, 12 hours a week, I work this job cleaning. It's enough to pay my bills. It gives me time to do other things. I have no debt. I have savings. And this girl has some big dreams. And that's why I signed up for B School.
Exactly.
And when I read your thing, you want to be a travel blogger, it sounds like.
Yes. Right.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Does that scare you?
Not at all. I'm pushing myself quite a lot. Even before my parents passed, I had the goal, okay, I want to make my illustration job and so on. But here's the thing.
Tell me the thing.
I'm doing this since, like I said, I draw for more years now, but I started the online business 2021. So
yeah.
And I'm not making that much income. Sometimes there are months where I'm making nothing. And that's totally fine because I'm at the beginning. I also have, that's also good to know. I have an Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I love making videos. I'm learning so much. I started TikTok. I have my homepage. I'm writing blog posts. Mel, I also wrote a blog post about you.
Oh. I'll have to read it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, because there's a huge theme here. You guys noticing the theme with everybody? You guys all have lots of stuff going on. And that's an important thing if you need to have a lot of stuff going on to make ends meet.
Mm.
And I love that you're saying that your illustrations and that store is at the very beginning of the process. And that's going to take time. That's true. But here's what I don't hear. What do you want your life to look like?
I want this to go pretty well. I want to be able, like I wrote, I want to be able to travel. And my goal is to make this happen next year. And
okay.
So
what do you mean by travel? See, the other thing I'm going to keep pointing out to everybody is that before you can figure out the plan or the map to get where you want to go, you got to pick your head up and point at what you want. And the more specific the destination, the better. It is impossible to give you great guidance and coaching if I don't know exactly what you want. Because here's the thing, if you really wanted life where you travel, I can tell you 10 travel bloggers that you should follow. You can stalk their stories, and with your skills, you could probably be making money and doing that full time in a matter of 3 to 6 months. Because there are magazines that are looking for freelancers to do that. Once you get with one hotel, they connect you with another hotel. Once you start tagging people, cafes, it is one of those things that builds. You've told me you have no debt, that you have savings, that you have a job that is 12 hours a week that is not keeping you somewhere. So what do you actually want?
I know when I do this next year. So my first goal is to go to Japan again for 3 months.
Okay.
And I know that at my part-time job, they won't let me go and say, okay, it's unpaid vacation. And when you come back here, you can start again. So I know, okay, it's kind of.
So here's what's interesting. You ready? Yeah. I'm going to push you a little bit.
Yeah, please.
Do you is that house that you're sitting in a place that you own that you have to pay for?
Nope, it's a flat. And it's the flat of my best friend. And I have to pay such less money.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Your whole life is organized around what's happening at this 12-hour-a-week job.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know why I'm pointing that out?
No.
We are in the single best job market in 40 years.
What was my best job?
No. This is the best job market in 40 years. People cannot find people to work.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to tell you is that you're organizing your entire life around a part-time job.
I know where you're going.
Where am I going?
Yeah, I have the exact same thought. They are.
No, but where am I going? Where am I going? I'm going to push you.
There are shitty jobs out there everywhere. I can.
There's a shitty job in Japan waiting for you.
Yeah, everywhere. I know. Yeah.
Your issue is courage.
Yeah. That's fun because courage is one of my things that I'm keeping pushing myself. Okay. Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah. That's right.
I have a feeling that you holding on to where you are has to do with grieving.
Grieving and maybe, okay, my because I have a partner and he also lives here. But I think we can maybe hopefully figure something out.
Elena?
Yeah.
Hope is for children on Christmas morning who hope that they're going to get a certain present. You are a 33-year-old brilliant woman who has taken control of her healing, who has figured out how to set up an entire business around your illustrations. You have paid off your debt. You have savings. We are no longer in a game of hope. We are in the business of creating a life that's amazing. And that begins the moment you wake up and go, what the fuck am I doing? Worried about this job. I am going to call a meeting tonight with my partner and I'm going to say, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are going to reinvent our lives. Fuck it. Let's figure out how to go to Japan for 3 months. Because this shitty job's going to be here. And so is this flat when we decide we don't like it. And if I burn through my savings trying to figure something out because I can't figure out how to make that work, then I'll just save more money.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose.
I'm writing courage big on
courage. And courage means action.
Yeah.
You're going to feel afraid, but this is the day.
No, that's normal growth.
You're not going to grow in that flat. And you're not going to grow next year. And I'm not going to allow you to wait another year.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I'm feeling. Every time I wake up, I'm doing my stuff and I'm doing quite a lot of stuff. And I wrote it also to you. Wait, let me point this out.
I saw it. I don't need this. You don't need that. I don't need the story. I don't care how much you're doing. You're doing the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
I'm fucking busy too. And for a long time, it was the wrong stuff, which is why I was miserable.
The only thing I felt, why I ask you if it's a naive or so, because I'm not making that much income or not at all income now. This is why
Who cares? So you're not making a lot of income, which only means if you stay in the place that you're in, you're going to stay trapped because you don't have enough income. You're not going to have enough income next year either.
Yeah.
Take a risk. Live a little. You can come back to this.
Yeah. This was exactly what I was feeling the whole time.
Well, I hope this is exactly what you do.
Yeah.
Because feeling it, unless it activates action, you might as well just fart because it doesn't do anything. Like it just is like, you need to get frustrated and say, I'm done with this. I am sick of myself. In fact, let's pick a date right now. What day are you going to Japan or going to another country or quitting this job? Give me the day. Let's commit publicly right now. It's March 22nd.
March or April?
Give me a date. Let's pull the calendar.
Okay, let's say April the 1st.
April 1st? Hell yes. All right, great. You're going to keep us posted on where you're doing and what your plan is.
I will.
Will you put Glow Autonomo, her account in the in Instagram? Thank you. She started travel blogging, I think 7 years ago. And really amazing woman, really good friend of mine, super inspiring.
Okay.
She'll give you tips. And I think on her YouTube channel, she's got all kinds of stuff about how to get started. She's killer.
I also haven't found an illustrator who does this because I would love to incorporate
listen, I think your ideas are incredible. Go do them.
Okay.
Here's an illustration. You ready?
Yeah.
Give us an illustration of the moment that you got off your ass and quit that job. And then give us an illustration of you buying the plane ticket. And then give us an illustration of how scared you are as you see the savings go down a little. And then give us an illustration of what your partner looks like when he's like, wait, what? We're going where? And then give us an illustration of your first day in Japan.
Yeah.
And then take us on the journey with you.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. You're awesome.
Can you tell the story of how you went from taking notes in the corner to figuring out what to do?
Yes.
How did you do that?
So for me, what it looked like was I started to think, okay, what am I doing right now in my business that could maybe translate? And I was doing marketing and some social media and a little bit of like online education kind of stuff. So I started to look at that and I liked what I did. I didn't like the fact that I wasn't free, but I liked the work that I did. So I started to think maybe I could teach social media online. It wasn't my end all be all. You just need a starter idea. I just needed something to get me going.
Okay, let's stop there. You just need a starter idea, everybody.
Yes.
I'm literally going to baby step everybody because every single thing that Amy's going to talk about in her own journey is one of those obstacles that you're going to have to remove. Because, if you think about what you currently do for somebody else, whether it's project management or what you studied in school, maybe you were a marketing major and you spend your life on social media because you don't have a job yet. Guess what? You probably understand a lot about social media.
Yep.
You seem to like it a lot. Like there are things that you do naturally. Maybe your house is super insanely clean and everybody constantly remarks about how clean it is and how good it smells. Maybe that's what you just do naturally.
Yep.
Maybe it's something you used to do a long time ago, but starting with, well, what are you good at? What do other people say that you like? And so that was your process.
Yes.
So here you are, you're still at your job.
Still at my job.
And for somebody who's unemployed right now listening, or they're a student about to graduate, like what are you suggesting? Do you suggest they do this process while they're unemployed or while they're looking for a different job?
Absolutely. This is something that no matter where you are in your journey, if you have that desire, that calling, that there's got to be something better for me, something different, this is what you do. You start to think about, what am I good at? What could be a starter idea? And then what I did is I started to look online on social media and started to go for like total immersion around what kind of business I'd want to create. So I wanted to teach social media or do social media. That's how I wanted to start. So I started to follow all of these accounts on social media that were doing what I wanted to do. These other women and men that had the businesses I wanted. So the first step I did, I call it this process of unbossing, which is learning or believing that you could lead yourself and you don't need someone else to lead you. So I thought, I've got to unboss myself, which is I have to think like a boss.
Okay, now everybody stop, because I want to make sure that you have this, because this is another tool.
Yes.
I don't care if you're trying to get ahead in your career or if you want to figure out what to do next in your career, or you truly do want to start something and grow it into a business. Unbossing yourself is a tool that you can use to change the way that you think.
Yes.
Because most of us grow up in households where we see our caregivers going to work for somebody else. So you already have a mindset where you think safety comes from being somebody's employee. You already have a mindset where you believe that, oh, those benefits, oh, that salary, oh, that, kind of savings account, all that stuff that I saw my parents chip away and try to do, you think that that is the way to financial freedom. And what I'm here to open your eyes to is this idea, what if you had a different mindset? What if you started to think like somebody who has their own business? And what I will tell you, being somebody that has my own business and that has a great team, it's that our team are people who think like bosses.
Yes.
Because a boss means you take responsibility for what you're doing. A boss means you figure shit out instead of sitting around and licking your wounds and feeling sorry for yourself. That this unbossing is a process that you have to go through in order to get yourself to think differently about how you're showing up. And so what are the components of unbossing your mindset and your actions?
I love what you said about no matter if you're planning on staying in your 9-to-5 job or looking for another job if you get laid off or starting your own business, if you adopt the mentality of unbossing yourself and you actually start thinking like a business owner, you're going to show up so much better in every area of your life, because someone who is unbossed, they're not looking for everyone's approval. They're not asking everyone how to make a decision. They're not coming to the table and saying, I'm stuck, what do I do? They might come to the table and say, I'm stuck, what do I do? I've got these two options. What do you think is best? That kind of thing. So it's changing your mindset and really stepping into more confidence that I've got this. I'll figure this out. Watch me kind of mentality.
Let's jump right into the deep end. What are 3 things that very successful people run every day that helps them be successful?
They get their ass out of bed.
You and I both struggled with that.
Oh my God. I still struggle with it.
So do I. I don't think people believe me. It is a thing every day of my life.
Every day of my life.
It's such a trip.
Well, I understand why, for me anyway. I don't know the reason why it's hard for you, but there are levels of reasons why it is so hard to get out of bed for me and why you have to get your ass out of bed. And I'll explain why it's important in a second, but first I want to explain why it's actually difficult for me. So number one, from a physiological standpoint, it was very helpful for me to learn that your cortisol levels are their highest when you first wake up in the morning. And so cortisol being the stress hormone, it's also something that can then flood your body with a sense of like worry or heaviness or overwhelm. And so knowing that that was just a fact in terms of what's happening in your body was helpful. Second, for me personally, part of my childhood trauma was having a incident where, you know, somebody did something to me in the middle of the night. And that encoded an experience in my body that is triggered by waking up. Because at the age of, I guess I must have been like 9, I had an experience where I woke up one morning and an older kid had climbed into my bed and done something. And the second I woke up, Tom, I was in full alarm state. Fight or flight kicked in. I disassociated and I knew something bad had happened. And then I had a second response, which is, I did something wrong.
Right.
And so, you know, you talk a lot on the show about habits and how habits have 3 parts: the trigger, the pattern, the reward. Waking up in the morning is a trigger, Tom, for my body to remember this experience of feeling something's wrong. So that's the second reason. And the third reason is because I have fucking amazing sheets and my bed is super comfortable. And my husband used to be next to me, but he now gets up at like 5:45. He just rolls right out of bed. And I love to just stay in that bed, Dom, under those sheets. It's so cozy. It's so snuggly. It's absolutely amazing. And so that's why it's hard for me. I don't freaking feel like getting up. And then on top of it, and you and I both know this, that an object that is resting will stay resting unless there is a force that acts upon it to get it to move. And so it is always hard for me, and how I've resolved this is by basically realizing that there are a few things that I will never feel like doing. I will never feel like unloading the dishwasher. I will never feel like folding clean clothes. I will never feel like cleaning that damn cat box or picking up the dog poop in the yard.
Yeah.
And I don't ever feel like getting out of bed. And I still have to do it.
It's interesting. So I think for me, my cortisol levels are too low.
Oh.
So whatever it is that gets people out of bed from a physiological level, I don't have that. So I've always felt, to me, it feels like the neurochemistry of sleep is slow to be flushed out of my system. Maybe it's just that the cortisol doesn't pump enough. And so getting out of bed just seems like this Herculean task. Because even if there's something I'm excited to do, I find myself still wanting to lay in bed. And then the whole warm and cozy thing, yeah, that goes a long way. Like even now, I will, if I'm sleeping alone, like Lisa's traveling right now, so I'm sleeping alone. So I always wake up before Lisa. So I can't turn the AC off. I need it to be cold when I sleep.
Now, how cold do you keep your bedroom?
68 degrees.
So I keep mine between 66 and 68, and that's also part of the problem. The bed is warm.
Yep.
And it's like climbing into an ice pack to throw those sheets
Correct.
off. Yes.
So I give myself 10 minutes to get out of bed.
10 minutes?
So yeah. That for me, going from 4 or 5 hours to 10 minutes was like, oh my God.
Well, that is a huge thing.
Yeah, for
so
me,
what do you
like
do
10
in
minutes
those 10
perfect.
minutes?
I try not to fall back asleep is the honest answer. So I when I wake up, even though I've woken up naturally because I don't use an alarm.
You don't use an alarm.
I'm like, like I wake up rough. Like Lisa, in the beginning of our relationship, it was really almost contentious because I was so grumpy in the mornings. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like whatever the chemistry is of sleep, I have a hard time shucking it off. And I remember I heard a joke one time, I'm gonna totally bastardize this, but the guy was like, to all you morning people, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, I don't even want to talk. Like, what are you people going on about? You're so happy, you're so smiling. And I was like, yes, that's exactly how I feel. So everything just feels when I wake up. So anyway, I give myself 10 minutes to get out of bed.
And so when you're in bed,
Yep.
Are you thinking about something? Are you looking at the ceiling? Are you
No, I'm
what are
under
you
the
doing?
covers. So this would, I think, surprise everybody. I sleep completely bundled up under the covers.
Like with the pillow over your head?
Not the pillow, but the blankets.
Oh, see, I put pillows over
Pillow
my head and I make a
weighs
little
too
breathing
much.
hole right here.
That
It's like a
would-
safety thing, I
Yeah,
think. I'm hiding.
I couldn't have that on my face. On my body, that would feel nice, but not on my face. So I'm under the covers.
Yeah.
And now, this isn't true historically, but for the last probably 2 years, I sleep with a book playing in
With
my
a who?
headphones. A book playing.
While you're sleeping?
While I sleep the
Why?
entire night. It is incredible.
What?
And this isn't one that I necessarily recommend, but if people struggle to stay asleep, so I fall asleep easily. I have a hard time staying asleep. So I will
Okay.
wake up 3 times a night, every single night. The third one being the final time I wake up.
Yep.
And I have to switch my headphones out so they don't die. And I have 3 sets of headphones. So headphone 1, I fall asleep, and that's in-ear. Headphone 2, in-ear. Headphone 3, over the ear.
You sleep with headphones. So are you on your back?
Yeah. But
Wow.
it is unbelievably comforting. I can't even tell you.
Is it the same book?
Well, no, it changes once I finish the book.
Okay.
But I'll read it in these little increments because I have to keep rewinding it. And don't worry, we will get to the other 2 things that amazingly successful people do. But yes, so it's the same book
Okay.
until it's done. I read it in these tiny little increments. It's a specific kind of book.
What kind of book?
It has to be a book like, if you ever read like a biography of Lincoln, which happens to be what I'm reading now, and they'll spend like 17 pages on what the grass was like in his front yard. And so it's like, you don't have to like really scrutinize every sentence. You can sort of drift in and out. And so what ends up happening is I drift and then I'm gone. And I'll wake up, and let's say I started on chapter 2,
Yeah.
I wake up and it's like chapter 9. So I'm like, okay, I know to go back to chapter 2, and then I fall asleep again, and then I wake up again, I go back to usually chapter 2, and then I'll sleep. So when I wake up, I've got the book still playing. So then I'm like, well, I'm interested. I'll turn off the AC so it starts warming up. I stay under the blankets. So I start, and I'll even pull another blanket over me so I start getting too warm.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, cool, my 9 minutes and 42 seconds are up. I need to, because I have a rule. I have to be standing up before the 10th minute hits.
Okay.
And so I'm up out of bed before the 10th minute hits. But that has worked like a charm for me.
Wow. This is very complicated. I'm just sitting here about the management that you have to do around this. But but I think that's the most important thing about advice is everybody's looking for the silver bullet when in fact it's got to work for you.
Yeah.
That would never work for me. I'm already starting to think about, well, I sleep on this ear, and what about the headphones?
Yeah.
And I'd forget to charge them, and then I'd be awake, and
you
I'd be
have to have
staring
a
at the
system.
ceiling, and
Yep.
so that's fascinating. One of the things that I also got from what you were saying is that because of the cortisol, like flying through my system, and because I am somebody that has had a very dysregulated nervous system, meaning I have sort of lived life with the accelerator on edge, that when I would wake up and I would feel that wave of like being on edge, it had a very weird effect of not motivating me to get out of bed, but pinning me there. And ironically, intellectually, I know, and this is one of the reasons why it's important to get up, because if you can get up, you can start moving. And if you start moving, you can keep moving. And as you move, the chemistry changes and your mood shifts. And within 5 minutes, you feel different, even if it's just like a little incremental bit of difference. Even though I know that, the feeling in the body was so heavy that I thought I'll just lay here and hopefully it'll go away, and it just gets worse. And that's why I asked you what you do in those 10 minutes, because one of the reasons why I say get out of bed is because most people reach for their phone. And most people win the battle for success, for dreams, for mental health, for happiness, for confidence in the first 30 seconds of being awake, because they reach for the phone and they immediately direct their attention at other people's lives.
Yeah.
And so that's
so
why
crazy,
I
man.
say, I know nobody will, when I tell people, don't look at your phone, leave your phone out of their hand, and everyone's like, and then they go and do it. But if you just get out of bed immediately, you got a fighting chance to be awake enough to not do that.
Yeah.
And so I think most people, if they're struggling with being successful or happy or whatever, I guarantee you give your attention to social media or your phone before you've done the second thing. And so now we're on to the second thing, which is set a freaking intention for the day. Set a mark for what's one thing that matters to you. What is the one thing that you're going to make progress on today? And that one thing could be how you're going to show up with your family. It could be, today I'm getting to that gym, or it could be some project at work that you're going to move the needle on, or it could be some habit that you've learned on impact theory, that today is the day I'm going to do that thing that I learned from Tom, and you're going to do it. And it's so important for you to direct your mind that this matters to me, because your mind is paying attention. And if you set a little habit in place, and successful people do this, you have something that matters to you. Because the other thing about successful people is we're all fucking busy and we have a million things going on. And the second that we look at our phone, or we walk through the front door of our business, or we step into the kitchen, other people will now need you. And you will most likely spend the rest of your day, unless you have a huge staff and you've got amazing boundaries and you've got a lot of white space in your calendar, and that is not me, you will spend the rest of your day, Tom, reacting to everybody else's stuff.
Yep.
And so if you can get into the habit of going, today, the most important thing for me to make progress on is X, you have directed to your mind that this thing matters. Now, if you can actually inch it forward before you look at your phone, before you start your workday, before you start responding to everybody else, you will start to develop a superpower, because you will see yourself prioritizing what matters to you. And that's critical. So for anybody with a side hustle, do not be working on that thing just at night when you get home. Your dreams, your business, it deserves the first 10 minutes of the morning. And if you literally just lay like one brick on that path between where you are and where you want to go, that 10-minute of effort every single day on the thing that matters most to you, that changes everything over time. Because I think most people are struggling with the fact that you have all these things that you want to do, but your life is organized in the exact opposite of what is important to you. That you've let everybody else dictate how you spend your time. You've let everybody else kind of take over your day, and you haven't done the basics of waking up, get moving, think about what matters to you, and if you can, just inch it forward. You know, there's even research about this. I know you've talked about this too, the progress principle, which they've studied extensively at Harvard Business School, that when they look at very successful people and they ask them, okay, you know, what makes for a fulfilling week? And they were specific to work, but I think this applies more generally. What made for a fulfilling week for most people that are successful is I made progress on something that matters to me. Yep. I felt a sense of control and progress over the things that I care about. And so if you really are someone, and this used to be me for sure, where you feel like you're last on the list, you never have time to get to what's important, that everybody else's needs come first, that years keep going by and you're not seeing yourself make the changes that you want to make, or not make the money you want to make, or not launch that business or start that thing, take a look at the first 3 or 4 things you do in the morning and see where you put your attention, because I guarantee you, it is not aligned with what you actually care about. And so if you can grab that back, you can do the third thing. And the third thing for me is, it's sort of this combination, I call it aligned action. And that is that successful people act before they feel ready. They act like the person they want to be instead of the person that they feel like today. That they, you know, and you talk about this too. This is the philosophy that you believe in, which is behavioral activation therapy. Act like the person you want to become.
Can you give me an example of that?
Oh, yeah. So I'm launching a podcast. I've been thinking of, talk about not taking your own advice, okay? Most people don't know this, but I got my start in the media business. This was my first taste of the media business in 2008 by hosting a local call-in radio show on Saturday mornings in Boston, Massachusetts.
I did not know that.
Yes, I paid for my kids' braces by reading Invisalign ads for a dentist in Boston that I still go to. Shout out to Dr. Ronkin. He did not pay me to say that. That was a long time ago. And I loved that show, Tom. I freaking loved it. Why did I have a radio show? I'll tell you why. Because for those of you that have seen my first appearance here with Tom, this was the period in my life where Chris's restaurant was going off the rails. We were nearly $1 million in debt. There were liens on our house. I had lost my job. I needed money. That's why I had that job. It paid $25 an hour for 2 hours every Saturday. And I felt like the world's worst mom because every other parent was at town soccer. Somebody else, thank you to the Graces for driving our kids. They were taking our kids to soccer for us while I could go host this radio show and Chris was doing whatever he could to save the business. That show was a lifeline. I would talk to real people every single day. It made me feel connected to people. It gave me a sense of purpose. I loved the intimacy of it. And so and that show eventually grew and it became syndicated. And then I won something called the Gracie Award for my coverage of Trayvon's murder. Whoa. And that got CNN's attention. And they called me and said, hey, we would love to have you be a legal analyst here. And so that then got me on CNN. And ever since I left radio, I have missed it. And I've been wanting to get back to it. And in the back of my mind, especially after I wrote the 5-second rule, I kept thinking, I need to launch a podcast. I need to launch a podcast. I love podcasts. I need to do this. And it mattered so much to me. I was so drawn to it, Tom, that I think that oftentimes when the dream is such a call, the excuses match the desire for it, right? And it was never the right time. I just talked myself out of it over and over and over and over and over again. And so finally, 18 months ago, I literally woke up one morning, I had my own wake-up call, and I'm like, that's it. You're gonna let another 10 years go by unless you make a fucking decision to get started.
How'd you get started? So you decide you're going to do it and take people into the weeds a bit.
Yeah, okay.
This is where I think people go off the rails. They're sitting at home thinking, yeah, I want to start a podcast as well. And I want to hear, because I know that you end up doing it on a way more professional stage, but walk people through who'd you call? Was it a relationship that you built 20 years ago? I want people to follow that.
Yeah, so
train.
First things first, I went to my friend Google. Honest to God, even though I know Tom and I know Lisa, I was too embarrassed to ask you because, you guys are out here with all these millions of subs and you've been doing the show for a while. And same thing with Lewis. You and I have some amazing friends. And oftentimes I find that going to people that already seem like they're at the top of the top, that's intimidating because it magnifies, at least for somebody who's got a lot of insecurity like me, it magnifies the distance between where you are starting and where somebody is years down the road. Because part of your genius, Tom, is that it's easy to look at what Tom's built and forget the fact that this dude has been studying film since he went to USC for film school. This guy is a insanely successful entrepreneur that's bringing all of that sweat equity and learning to the table. This is somebody that's dedicated himself to years of figuring this out and sampling and editing. And so I personally find that when you go to somebody that's already there, it can be a little discouraging. So I went to Google and I'm like, how do you start a podcast? Honest to God, because I'm smart enough to know it's different than radio. And I didn't even know what equipment people have. I didn't know anything about, do you go to, how do you put a podcast up? Do you put it everywhere? Well, I don't know. Is there a form that you put the title on and the captions and then do you send it somewhere? I know how to upload a video to YouTube. I know how to, but I don't know anything about this market. And so I went to Google. You're going to laugh at me, but I bought a course about podcasting.
Not laughing at all. Smart.
I studied a bunch of videos about the type of equipment that people bought. I then just started stalking people that are doing it. And I started to say to myself, okay, what does somebody that already has a podcast, what do they do that I'm not currently doing? And so the first step is obviously learn about it. Identify a group of people that serve as what I call your lights on the path. And so lights on the path are people that are anywhere from 1 step ahead of you to 10 years ahead of you. And these are all people that can guide you forward if you study what they did. And most of them by the way, we live in the most magical period of time. You have no fucking excuse for not walking toward what you want. I realize it may be harder for some of us with mental health issues. I realize that not everybody starts at the same starting line because of bias and all kinds of things that can happen to people. But the bottom line is, through your actions and attitude, you can create anything you fucking want. And look, I'm sitting here saying I've been wanting to do a podcast for 8 years, and for 6 years, I was nothing but excuses for why I couldn't get started. And then finally, I'm like, fuck it, I got to start. And so you start by Google the topic. Number one, become a student of what you want to be first. That's the mindset. What can I learn? What are people doing that is calling to me? What are people doing that I don't like? And so as I started being a student of this, really important, that's why I say Google. Google is a search engine. Become a student of what you want to learn about or launch in your life. And there's a bazillion books, there's master classes, there's free videos, there's workshops. And what's so cool, people like Tom are unpacking this shit for you with people. And so you can also hear people's stories. And so I probably just immersed myself in it, Tom. And I'd say the first person that I called was Rich Roll. And Rich Roll is a really good friend of mine. And
amazing human.
Amazing human being. And he was really cute. I called and said, okay, I'm going to do this thing. What would you tell me, knowing everything you know, having been doing the podcast for 7 years? And, you know, interesting about Rich, that guy is an artist, incredible storyteller, amazing story, you know, personal story. His hands are in every aspect of that podcast. Like, that is Rich's gift to the world. And what he said to me is, he said, turn on a mic.
It's good advice.
Turn on a mic. Start recording shit. But I'm not ready. But I don't have the equipment. But I haven't done this. But Mel, if you want to do this thing, turn on the mic and start taping episodes. And then listen to it. And they're going to sound like shit. And you're going to realize it's a hell of a lot harder than you think it is. And so here's the second thing. So number one, become a student, right, of what you want. And even if you don't know people or you don't have a network that is, you know, like the one that you and I have built over time, you can still learn from people that you haven't met. Full stop.
Especially with YouTube. It's crazy.
It's incredible. And then you just reverse engineer it. And so what you'll do is, if you were to simply do this exercise, like, we're just going to stick with the podcast episode, but you could insert anything. How do I start a dry cleaning business? You could Google, I don't know how to do that, but I bet there's a video about it. How do I start a catering business? Do I need a commercial kitchen to do that? Like, all these things somebody has figured out, and they have put a video out, or they've written a blog post, or they've written a book, or they're doing a course right now on it. As you're a student, here's your assignment from Mel Robbins. Write down all the actions that you're learning about that people do. Oh, for podcasting, I got to learn how to edit audio. Oh, I got to learn about equipment. Oh, I got to understand all these platforms. Oh, I've got to listen to a ton of podcasts to understand what I like and what I don't like. Oh, I've got to record some. Oh, I've got to there's a bazillion things, right? And so keep that list handy, because every day you can wake up and look at that list, and there is your roadmap to what you want to create in your life. And what happens next is there will be something on that list that is the starting line for real, like when shit gets real. And for me, that was turning on a microphone, which I started doing about 6 months ago.
How did you deal with being bad if you were bad in the beginning?
Oh, I was terrible. Well, because I yammer on and on and on, and I have a very dyslexic ADHD brain, and so I'm all over the frickin' place. And it was interesting because I just assumed, having done 6 audio projects with Audible and, you know, these 2 self-published audiobooks, that, okay, we got a lot to talk about. Well, one of the big takeaways for me in being a student of this is that the podcast is not about me. It's about what my intention is that I want to have the listener experience. And if you are going to create something that has an intention, it has a very different level of artistry and discipline and purpose to it. And so I figured out very quickly that, yes, I personally want a podcast to sound like two friends having a conversation. And without a certain level of prep and intention on my part, it was not going to turn out that way. It was going to be Mel meandering all over the place. I mean, even just here, like you and I sit down and we're 20 minutes into a conversation and we're already like, we're like, time out. And so I needed to, in my student mindset, I needed to be honest with myself that there are things that I have as natural talents and skills, just like everybody does. But I also have major weaknesses that I got to get under control so that I don't derail possible success and fulfillment with this project based on my weaknesses.
That's the part I want to understand, though. So you have these weaknesses, they're rearing their head, you're having some kind of emotional response. How do you soothe yourself through that? Is it just a belief that, hey, I can learn, I'll get to the other side, that the sort of awkwardness is a natural part of the progression? Or what do you do to keep that emotional demon from consuming you?
It's an excellent question. It brings us to number 3, right? Because we've talked about get up, we've talked about set and attention. We've talked about aligned action. And part of aligned action is about your attitude. So I think I am proud of this unwavering faith and optimism that I have programmed into my noggin over the past several years. That I believe that whatever it is that I'm doing is leading me somewhere else. That every experience, especially like the shitty stuff that you can...
The universe is guiding me somewhere kind of way?
No, I just feel like, so it could be mystical and spiritual, but for me, it's more of an internal grounded faith. And, I think you and I talked about this, but I had this kind of, wake up call moment where I realized, oh my God, you and I are sitting here today, Tom. And if you and I look back at our lives, you can see how everything that happened led you right here. And that even the hardest moments had a deep purpose in shaping who you are, your skills, your expertise, your heart, your soul, your habits, your perspective, and knowing that that's always been true. And do you believe that that's true? That everything that's happened to you has somehow prepared you for what's happening now?
I don't believe that it's prepared me. I think that it shapes you for sure. I think most people live by the law of accident, though, and I'm terrified to live by the law of accident.
What is the law of accident?
That things happen and I just go with them. So
I don't believe in that.
I don't think everything happens so one of my favorite quotes, everything happens for a reason, but sometimes the reason is that you're dumb and unprepared or whatever. And it's
you're
like
stupid.
Yeah,
you make dumb decisions and
that I will agree with.
Yes.
But I think that we make meaning and purpose out of things. I don't think they intrinsically have meaning and purpose. So I think that I think the second law of thermodynamics is true, that everything leads towards entropy, aka chaos. And the only way to get it back on track is what you're walking us through, which is you inject energy back into the system. And so this idea of aligned action makes a lot of sense to me. You have to figure out, okay, I got out of bed, I set my intention, and now I'm going to do things that align with my intention.
Yes.
But that's going to be hard. There are going to be things that are knocking me off course.
Yes.
So it's interesting that you have a deep faith that I guess that you've made sense of everything?
No, let me see if I can explain it this way. I know, I guess it makes me feel grounded, confident, and assured that all the shit that's happened back there, stuff I would not want to repeat, but if it brought me to here, I would, that it has shaped me, prepared me, it has had a purpose.
Do you think things sometimes shape you for the worse, though?
I think things shape you for the worse until you get the lesson or the wake-up call or the frustrated kind of rock bottom moment
is Mel Robbins just unusually good at making use of that? I actually think you are.
Oh, I think that I hate the fact that I have to hit a fucking wall to
As
change
your
direction.
audience, though, it's really interesting. So for the audience, one of the first things you said when you got here was, I'm actually doing really well right now. I've learned to like reject all the self-hatred and beating myself up and all that.
Yeah.
And my reaction was, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But you've made such extraordinarily good use out of all your struggle. You are uniquely able to take that mess of life and turn it into this really simple idea that people can deploy immediately.
I literally find it comforting knowing that somehow every experience of my life is going to be connected to something in the future.
Because you're good at learning lessons. I have to put that caveat.
Yes. And when I believe that the shit that's going on is going to somehow connect to something in the future, it allows me to be more resilient. It allows me to be a little bit more, is it objective? Yeah, objective when things are going wrong, or when I'm in a really low point, or when I listen to my first couple episodes that I record. Okay, Rich Roll, I'm going to do a podcast episode now. And I listen, I'm like, holy shit, this sucks. And I just took on an advertising part. Like, this really sucks. I got a lot of work to do. I go, yeah. And thank God you had that call with Rich. And thank God you're listening to it. Because you're right, Mel. If you want this to really make a difference in people's lives, if you want to really do something awesome here, you're going to have to fucking learn something new.
Walk me through that process. So what are you doing now? The first, or what did you do? The first few episodes
Oh my God,
were
dude.
not what you wanted?
Before I came here, so we have taped about 17 versions of episode 1. Not because I'm trying to be perfect, but because I have a certain standard for what I want to put out there. And I literally, as we've gotten closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to launch, I just knew that what we had put out was not what I was supposed to put out. And I kept standing, though, not in a place we're fucked. We're literally launching 4 days from this interview, Tom. 2 hours ago, I was in the corner of my hotel room in LA. Mm-hmm. My team had built a remember when we were kids, you make those little forts out of sofa cushions?
Yep.
I am in a fortress of sofa cushions on the floor of the hotel room a mile from here.
From Diego, I have a dream of opening my own restaurant, but I'm terrified to start. How many of you have ever thought about opening up a restaurant, or starting a small business, or having some kind of side hustle? It doesn't have to be a restaurant. Give me a thumbs up or a heart or something if you have a dream of launching something of your own. You're not alone, by the way. In fact, for the first time in history, when the Pew Research Center did this study about the American dream, and I realize we have a huge international audience, but at least in the United States, the American dream used to be, I really dream of owning my own home. Do you know what the American dream is now for the majority of people? It's, I want to own my own business. And so whether you're interested in launching a restaurant, or you would love to have a business of any size, shape, or form in any vertical that you can think of, this is a question that you need to pay attention to, okay? Because I know this is also impacting you. I'm terrified to start. I know I have the potential to be really successful, but I just can't get myself to actually do something about it. You know, sometimes when the dream is so big, the fact that it's so big becomes paralyzing, because you think about where you are right now and you think, holy cow, that thing that I really want, how do you even start when the dream is so big? So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to shrink it down, because you know me, I am all about simplicity. I'm all about making sure that the advice works for you, because if it doesn't work for you, you're not going to do it. And I'm all about switching how you think about things. So Diego, first of all, I don't want you to think about opening a restaurant. I don't want you to think about launching that business, because that's something that will happen a year from now. What I want you to think about is, I want you to shrink your thinking. I want you to think about researching a restaurant. I want you to think about preparing to launch a restaurant. I want you to think about learning about launching a restaurant. Do you see how just saying, I want to learn about launching a restaurant changes how you feel versus I'm launching a restaurant, which feels so big. You're just in a phase where you're learning and researching this idea, which all of a sudden takes all the pressure off, doesn't it? Awesome. So that's number one. Let's shrink it. Let's not talk about launching it. Let's not talk about building it. Let's talk about researching and learning about it, okay? So that takes the pressure off. Then the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to focus on something that I talk about all the time. If you're researching and learning about launching a restaurant or a business, all I want you to do, Professor Mel has an assignment for you. I want you to find 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. That's all it takes. 10 to 15 minutes. And I want you to do one thing for 10 or 15 minutes a day that helps you learn or research about the idea of launching a restaurant. How many of you are starting to feel a little bit lighter? How many of you are starting to feel like, holy cow, thinking about it that way, I actually could get started today? Making this smaller and making it something that I'm learning about rather than doing and launching and that somehow thinking about it differently frees up the ability to get started. Amazing. I'm so happy that that is working for you. So I want you to do one small thing a day. So what could you do? You could read an article about somebody that launched a first-time restaurant. You could look online for 10 to 15 minutes for a local restaurant networking event. You could search YouTube and you could look for videos that are restaurant tutorial opening things. You could go to Barnes & Noble or your local library and find a book. You could apply for a job on the weekends and work in a restaurant if you've never worked in a restaurant to see how it feels. Because what are you doing? You're not launching or building a restaurant yet. You're learning about it and you're researching it. And your job as a student of this subject is to do something every day for 10 or 15 minutes in order to learn or research it. That's it. That's all I want you to do, because here's what I know. If I get you to start doing that and you do this every day for 10 or 15 minutes, which you absolutely can, guess what's going to happen? You're going to feel momentum. You're going to feel like you're working on it. You're going to meet people that are interested in it. You're going to learn things that are going to lead to the next thing that you need to learn. And you will have mastered the art of getting started. And by doing something a little bit every day, you're also going to master the art of continuing to keep going. And from there, it'll snowball. I promise you. I promise you. As you meet people, the next thing you'll do would be to learn more from them. As you read and watch tutorials about people that have started restaurants, as you watch television programming about it, you're going to feel more inspired. You're going to start to see, I think I can do this. That's going to lead to the next thing. Trust me when I say it's all about the little progress you make every day. So let me recap. If you, like Diego, have a dream of launching a business or starting something big, but you can't even seem to begin, I want you to stop talking about launching it and building it, and I want you to shrink it back to I'm learning about it and researching it. That's number one. Number two, 10 to 15 minutes a day, you are a student of this subject. That's it. Get yourself a notebook where you keep all your notes. Get yourself organized like you would as a student. And find one thing you can do every single day that teaches you a little bit something about this subject that you're really interested in. And trust me, it'll all happen just by doing that. Researchers found that people, by the way, who are making progress towards their goals every single day and learning something new about something that you're interested in launching or building is progress. That's how you do it. And another thing that I would recommend is there's an incredible podcast called How I Built This, which is all interviews with entrepreneurs of some of the most amazing products and brands. And it's the backstory of how people did it. And what you're going to learn is before they launched it and built it, they became a student of it. They researched it. They learn something every single day, which is exactly what you're going to do to get started, because that's exactly what the greats do in order to get started. So tell me, What's going on and how can I help you?
Okay. So I've been a small business owner about 6 years now. And then, you know, with all of the small business owner things that come with it, the overwhelming and trying to balance family, then now this COVID-19 has hit. And I have 3 children in 3 different levels of school. I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary student. So they all have different levels of assistance. You know, my high schooler, I can kind of let her go and do what she needs to do, just check in on her.
Yep.
Middle schooler, a little bit more hands-on, elementary, more hands-on. And so take that, they're home all day. Small business is, thankfully, we haven't been hit with this COVID
What is your
thing.
small business? I'm sitting here. Let's give a shout out to your small business and tell me what it is.
So we do medical billing and coding and collections for laboratories. So
Okay.
some of my clients are doing the COVID testing. And so thankfully billing is really up. We're very, very busy. I'm thankful for that. But there's a lot of follow through. You know, a lot of my clients are asking a lot of questions and it's very hands-on.
So
And
can I just stop right there?
Sure.
First of all, I freaking love small business owners, particularly female small business owners. So I am super thrilled that you took the time to ask me this question so that I could help you out. Are you busier than you've ever been in your business?
Yes.
Okay. See, a lot of us don't realize this. I am busier than I have ever been right now. And that adds another layer of complexity to the overwhelm that you would normally feel running a small business and having 3 school-age kids at 3 different levels in school, requiring 3 different types of support and attention. On top of that, I understand that you are also a caregiver. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so my mother-in-law, who's 85, lives with my husband and I, or our family, and she is going through chemo. So since she lives with us, she's got a lot, and her age, she's got a lot of health complications, and I have a background in medical. I have a nursing background, so we have to primary caregiver, basically. I mean, my husband's here to help, but a lot of the dosing and medications and things like that, it kind of falls onto me as well.
Now, are you the primary breadwinner in your household?
Yes.
Okay. And is your husband currently leaving the house to work, or is he trying to work from home too?
He's trying to work from home too.
Okay. Here, are you ready?
Yeah.
This is a pivotal moment in your marriage and in your business.
Yeah.
You want to know why? You have an extraordinary opportunity to grow your business right now.
Right.
And you have more business than you can probably even service at the moment.
Yeah, and I have a lot of clients coming to me that I've had to put on the back burner because I just can't.
We don't want to. Yes, you can, because here's what we're going to do. You ready? This is a moment where you sit down with your husband, because you two are in a partnership in your relationship, and you now need his support in order to go and take this business to the next level. And here is what I want you to do. I want you to sit down today and to quantify all of this business that you're putting on the back burner. And if you were able to bring that business in, how much more money would it bring into the business? And if you were to able to free yourself up for 10 hours more every week to not only deal with bringing in that business, but also reaching out and marketing and hiring another person or two to bring into your business to help, how much more could you then add with just 10 hours of your time freed up? You see, I am a wildly successful businesswoman. And one of the reasons why I am wildly successful is because my husband and I had this conversation in our marriage 5 years ago. And my business started to go like this. And I thought, holy cow, if I can free up 10 hours a week of my time, and if my husband sees the opportunity and he feels invested in supporting our family dynamic shifting and in supporting me extracting myself, which is not easy, from a lot of the primary care duties of the kids and of the household running and of, taking care of your mother-in-law, those 10 hours translate into tens of thousands of dollars for our family.
Right.
And it's in this moment of time where if you step up and you invest time and maybe a few more people at this problem, which is so much business and no time and bandwidth to address it. I actually feel this right now in the virtual training business. We have so many companies coming to us right now about virtual trainings and asking about the offerings that I got to carve out 10 hours that I'm telling you to find to package it up so people know what they could possibly buy. And so the key part, though, is you can't do this on your own, and you can't do this hoping that he recognizes that you're working harder, because what happens is our spouses can't read our minds. Right. Our spouses want to support us. Our spouses also are in a model right now where you guys share time, you share resources, you share things, and you're basically saying, I want your help going up, which means I got to go down in terms of how much I'm contributing here.
Right.
And getting him on board is critical because of two reasons. Number one, you need 10 hours a week. How much extra money do you think you could make if you got 10 hours back every week?
Oh, I could probably do 10 times the amount of income.
10 times?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Right now, I mean, I literally, and so a lot of it is I consult with a lot of my clients and then we onboard them to do their billing. But a lot of the consulting is where I just don't have time. And part of my question is I try to compartmentalize my day. Like, okay, from here, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'm working. And then from 2 to 5, I'm helping my kids. And then 5 to 10, I'm going back to work. So, and I'm not able to do it all. I'm not able to consult with them. And I just keep telling them, give me a few more weeks.
Correct. No, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to your husband and say exactly what you said to me. I have a chance to 10x my business. And that means we have a chance to 10x what happens for our family.
Right.
And here's what I need for you specifically. From 2 to 5, you've got to be with the kids. Because I need to be on the phone with clients, and I need to also start to, if it means freelancers or however you scale the business, and I would recommend freelancers because, this is a moment in time, but I think this type of billing is going to happen for a long time.
Right.
And the expertise that you're gaining is going to make your consulting price go up, up, up. But you need to enroll him in taking the 2 to 5.
Okay.
That's what has to happen. The second thing the two of you need to do is on Sunday nights, make sure that you preview the whole week.
Okay.
So that if there is a particular conference call that is important, or if your mom needs to go somewhere for chemo, that you've figured out how to cover each other.
Okay.
And you've talked about it in advance, because what ends up happening too, especially because your attention is going to start to go like this in your business, because this is a huge moment of potential growth for you.
Right.
And your family deserves to have that happen. You deserve to have that happen. Your attention is going to really get pulled into this business. So to minimize the sniping that happens between spouses and the resentment that starts to get built up, both from him, because he's now suddenly feeling like he's getting pulled in every direction, something that women have felt forever. But again, I'm just speaking from my own experience in my own marriage.
Yeah.
That it's one thing to say, yeah, I'll help. It's the other thing to be pulling yourself away from work at 2 o'clock and dealing with the kids. And the reason why you need his buy-in is because it helps with that resentment that starts to build quietly between spouses. Talking on Sunday nights and previewing it allows him to be heard and allows him to request what he needs in case something's important coming up for work.
Okay.
And it allows the two of you to handle logistics and stay aligned instead of barking about it during the week. But I got a conference call, but you said you were doing this, but oh, it's Wednesday? I thought today was Tuesday. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What concerns do you have?
I think that was the main thing is I feel like I have so much writing and I just don't, if I was compartmentalizing it, things like that. I do talk to my husband and say, look, I need to get on this conference call, and my office is here at my house. And so it's like, I need you to keep the kids away. I need you to keep them outside. I don't need the kids running in here because, they often do that.
Well, one thing I want to tell you, nobody's going to penalize you in this moment of time if they hear kids in the background.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, I also enroll my kids. So I did a huge 2-hour training for a massive pharmaceutical company on Friday for Novartis. And I told my family, I've got this amazing opportunity. You people need to be out of this house for those 2 hours. And they were. And the day before, I text everybody in our family group text and I say, hey guys, tomorrow is the thing. I'm working really hard. I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. You can do those kinds of things because then your kids feel like they're part of your success. Okay. So first get your husband on board, then the two of you at family dinner say something really exciting is going on. Mom's business is exploding. And so I'm going to take the 2 to 5 shift. And you can be like, everybody, this is so cool. Thank you for your support. Thank you for putting up with me when I go like, you can't believe like the business is growing.
Yeah.
Do you know what this means for us? And so you enroll them in your success, which also helps. Now, does that take care of the shit that comes up? No, of course not. But it is through the acknowledgement and the constant little bits of communication about what you need. And what you need is you need a runway from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, because that's when your clients need you.
Yep.
And then you can tell your husband, hey, at 5 o'clock, I'll take over. No problem. And you can go back to work.
Yeah.
But that's how you're going to have to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I love it. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's
compartmentalizing doesn't work.
Okay.
When you have more work than you have time to do it in. So if you think about this is a vessel, right? And okay, let me see if I can do show and tell with Mel. Okay, so this vase is a vessel. This is a vessel. This is a vessel. Oh, here's another candle. This is a vessel. So if this is your business and it's going to bloom, and you got all kinds of amazingness happening over here, and let me see if I can hold this, do this. And this right here is family, right? And all the time and energy you got to pour into that. And this right here is your mother-in-law that needs you. This right here is you and me, because we get burnt out because we come last. See how it's got the burn ring around the top? Yeah. You could pour all of your time into just this. And you still need to reserve a little bit for your family, for your mother-in-law, and for you.
Yeah.
And right now, this is your business and you're not pouring enough time into this. And at some point, when the growth levels out, your business and your family start to look a little bit more like the same size.
Okay.
But in order for this business to bloom, you got to pour more time here. You got to also make sure you find time for yourself, whether that's a bath at night or get up a little bit earlier in the morning so you have a chance to take a walk or to meditate, or journal, or just plan your day before the craziness starts. Time for your family, time for your mother-in-law.
Okay.
You can figure it out, but your husband needs to basically take this cup off the table for a little bit.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I think he will too when he understands 10X, baby. There you go. We've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for this. We've been praying for this. And him feeling like he's part of that success makes it easier to get him to do what you need.
Mel, How do I get started? How do I achieve this? Okay, this has been fun, girl, but this is a lot like buying a brand new planner for the new school year. So now what do I do? Okay, well, step number 1, based on the research, the second that you define your goals, and we have now defined the goals, we are using the research. I'm feeling super empowered. I hope you are too. You have to make the first milestone super, super easy, because that means it feels like you've already done it. Okay. So we got to make a super simple first step. And scientists even have a name for this. Scientists call this incremental illusion. That's what we're using, incremental illusion. If you make the first few milestones really easy to achieve, you will be more likely to succeed at this goal, because nothing, and I mean nothing, is more motivating than progress. And research from the University of Chicago gives us a great example of what I'm talking about, okay? So, you know how you go to a coffee shop and they have these offers where if you buy 10 cups of coffee, you get the next coffee free? Here's a little trick that's pretty interesting that uses this effect, this illusion, okay? So they gave one group of people a card that was buy 10 cups of coffee, get one free card, but it was blank, okay? They gave another group of people a buy 12 cups of coffee, and then you get a free card, but 2 of the slots were already checked off. Progress had already been made. It's still the same thing. You're still having to do 10, but guess what? The folks that were given the card with 2 slots already filled in, they moved through that card faster by checking the boxes twice. Listening to this podcast, check. You're no longer at square one. You've defined your goals. I can tell you some other things. You want to do the smallest step possible. Chris gave me a book about dahlias, these flowers that I love, for the holidays. Check. I'm in box 2. If you can take the smallest step today, can you do a Google search? Could you spend a little time journaling? What's something that you could do? You can't think of something? No problem. I've got something based on the research you could do. Step number 2, check box number 2, tell someone you admire about this goal. This debunks decades-old research from 2009 from researchers at Yale that said that you shouldn't tell anybody about your goals. But here's the hook. You need to tell somebody you admire. You got to tell the right people about your goals. This comes from a set of new studies from Ohio State. Researchers found that you show greater goal commitment and performance when you tell your goal to someone you admire or whose opinion you value. And these results run counter to this widely reported 2009 study from NYU that suggested that telling other people your goal is actually counterproductive. And so here's what you can do. Just tell somebody you admire. Here's how I'm doing it. I'm sharing these goals with you. And I'm going to go share these goals with my family. And I'm going to share these goals with my friends. I'm going to talk to the woman that I met this summer that is growing dahlias and learn from her. That's another step. This is like us checking off the boxes on that free coffee card and getting you to start seeing yourself making progress. And the final thing, the second that this episode is over, do a tiny thing, one step forward. This comes from a recent study at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine that showed that starting right away resulted in the most change. Do not wait for Monday. Do not wait for the weekend. Do not wait until later. The most important thing you could do, that little box you're going to check, is when this podcast is over, spend 5 minutes taking a step. Whew. Now I get to talk about the most life-changing part of all of this. You ready? The whole reason why goal setting is important is because it creates meaning and purpose in your life. And that's the most important part. Your goals are not really meant to be achieved. The most important part is that you're pursuing something That's why goals matter so much. I mean, remember the research we talked about in the very beginning? Those goals that you've defined and refined based on the research, having them, taking little steps toward them, it's going to make you happier. It will suppress negative emotions. It makes you feel like you're up to something. And your life is going to be way more satisfying having those 1, 2, or 3 goals that you're working on than having no goals at all. And there's a reason why I'm going to hammer this idea of pursuing the goal. Okay. First of all, I don't want you to try to get this perfect. I just want you to try. And the second reason why is that when you achieve a goal, the irony is it's not as satisfying as you think it's going to be. Setting goals makes you happy. Working on goals makes you happy. Achieving goals does not create or promise lasting happiness. Yeah, it is awesome when you finally get to the top of that mountain you've been climbing. You take in the view, you catch your breath, you sit down on a rock, you take a selfie, you eat some gorp, and then you stand up and you climb back down. It's over. Yeah, it's amazing when you pay off your bills. You celebrate, you feel the burst of pride, and then you go on with life. The point and the purpose of achieving and setting goals that are deeply personal, that have a will and a why and a how and a way, right? Is because when you have goals, you're up to something. You're committing to your own growth and you're getting intentional about things that are relevant and important that you want to see yourself doing. And we have a tendency to overestimate how happy we're going to be when we achieve the goal. And there's even a name for it. That's how common this is. It's called the arrival fallacy. It's this fallacy that once you lose the weight, once you get the job, once you find the romance, once you reach the destination, that then I'll be in nirvana, then I'll be happy, no. Tal Ben-Shara, the Harvard-trained positivity psychology expert, he has debunked this thing in study after study after study. And all you have to do is look at the number of Olympians or movie stars that we think have achieved it all that then are just plummeting and struggling with mental health illnesses after their greatest achievements. And we're like, what? How could they possibly do? They have gold medals. They have millions of dollars. Well, because they're not working toward anything that matters. It was working toward the gold medal, working to make that movie, going to auditions and pushing through the failure and having this goal that you set for yourself. Working on it is what gives your life meaning. And that's why I wanted to start this series of life-changing episodes of the Mel Robbins podcast, the foundational stuff about how you create a better life with goal setting. Because goal setting from this point forward must be a part of your life if you want to feel a greater sense of purpose and meaning, period. And so I want you to come back to this episode. I want you to bookmark it. I want you to share this with people that you care about. If you've got somebody like I do who's a college senior, and as they approach graduation and they start to feel like they're about to have a quarter-life crisis and they're lost, you know what they need? They need goals. If you have a friend going through divorce, you know what they need? They need goals. If you're bored in life or feeling stuck or you've got to hit the reinvention button, you know what you need? You need goals. And you can re-listen to this every single quarter at any moment in your life and walk yourself through this very simple but powerful and life-changing research to get very clear about what you want and why you want it and how you're going to go achieve it. Now, speaking about the how, you want to know how? Habits are how you achieve goals. Systems are how you make it easier. And so coming up next in this life-changing series, we're going to do a 101 on habits. What the science says about habits, the 3 components that make a new habit encode and stick in your brain. And we're also going to give you the research-backed shortcuts that you can use to make new habits stick and to make that change and the new habits that are going to help you achieve your goals easier to implement in your life. That's what's coming next. But for now, I want you to remember the definition of a goal. A goal is anything that you desire that wouldn't otherwise happen without you doing something. And what I want you to do next is I want you to take one step forward on that goal of yours. In fact, you know one step you could do? Share this episode. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.